Tonight we will examine concepts that may challenge your perception of the world around you. Strange creatures, chilling tales, and the occasional conspiracy. Here on our show, we will attempt to provide you with paranormal insight. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Paranormal Insight. I'm your host, Tim Sodano. Today, we're going to take a look back at one of our most popular episodes with Stuart Kuramoto and his Ghost Stories, Volume 1. Enjoy. Hello and welcome once again. Today, we have on the show Mr. Stuart Kuramoto. I hope I said that correctly. And he and I have been haunting together for over 25 years. When we say haunting, we're talking haunted attractions and scaring people at haunted houses and haunted mazes and all that fun stuff. Stuart, why don't you tell them what we have going on right now?
Oh, what we have going on right now is I'm the producer of a show called Grimm's Hollow. Now, Tim, you and I go back all the way to the Haunted Woods.
Yep.
Back in 1990.
Yes.
Boy, that's giving everybody an idea how old we are.
It's the year I graduated high school.
Oh, yeah. So Tim and I have worked on. You and I have worked on the Haunted Forest. We did the Haunted Forest in Los Gatos.
Yeah.
Gyro's World of Terror.
Yep.
Goblin's Glen
Yep.
in Los Gatos, and now the show I'm working on is called Grimm's Hollow. We're in our 6th or 7th year,
Yeah.
and it benefits the Moreland School District. It's a fundraiser for the school. All the money goes towards the teachers, the kids, for classrooms, for school supplies, all kinds of stuff.
And
So
we really do help them out. We rake in a
we do.
lot of money for them. That's fantastic.
Yes, we this year's haunted maze called Labyrinth was completely sold out.
And
It's because it's one of the few family friendly attractions in the Bay Area.
yeah,
So we had
that's worth saying.
oh yeah, we had people coming from all over, from San Francisco, from Vallejo, from everywhere.
Right.
So I'm very proud of that fact. And so yeah, that's what we have going on. This year's going to be, we're going to keep the Labyrinth theme and keep going with the
Are you
with
going
the
to dress up as David Bowie? I'm kidding.
You know what? A lot of people asked me, was it going to? I cannot fit into those pants. So
Yeah,
yeah,
those stretch pants. What do you mean you can't fit in those pants?
yeah, no. So
Uh,
so yeah, it's going to be we're going to keep going that theme. For those who don't know, the show is split into 2 parts. The first part from 7 to 8:30 is family friendly, and then we close for half an hour, and then we reopen as a scary attraction for another hour or so. And it's just been a lot of fun.
it
Hitting
is.
both.
And our goal during that final hour is to make you pee yourself, by the way.
Yes,
Uh,
code yellow.
Code
Code
yellows,
yellow
cold
away.
browns if we can get them. And we do have toilet facilities nearby. Okay.
And I did it. I got a scary story about working there too.
Oh, really? Why don't you start? Well,
Yeah.
that's why we brought you onto the show, because you have a number of scary stories, and one of them was at the Winchester Mystery House. But
Yep.
we also have one at the. So tell us your scary stories. Go ahead.
So, well, wait. So, okay. So, Grimm's Hollow is set out in the Moreland Woods, which is at Eastbrook Discovery School. And as you know, Tim, a lot of times when we're doing teardown, there can only everyone shows up for the show, and then they kind of peter out, and we don't have as much of a crew for the teardown.
Yeah.
So one night I was there all alone. I was there
Oh.
all by myself, and I'm putting stuff away, putting stuff in bins. The Moreland Woods is a large forested area right next to the school. So it's kind of creepy to begin with, which makes it perfect for a haunted attraction.
It really does. Yeah.
And yeah, and I'm out there, this is probably 8:30 at night, and I'm by myself putting stuff away, and then I noticed the scent of rose scented perfume.
Oh.
Like what my grandmother, or I don't want to say an older lady, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
That,
It's preferred by
yeah.
more mature
And
people.
and I'm in the middle of the forest. There's
There's no roses out there either.
You've worked on haunts. I mean, it all smells like mildew and wet leaves, and there's this awesome beautiful rose smell, and I'm looking around and I'm going, where is that coming from? I open all the bins, nothing. I mean, it all smells like, mildew.
Right,
So
you. Yeah.
and then the smell started, I don't know how to describe it. It started getting closer and closer.
Oh.
So I finally said, I said out into the darkness, I said, thank you for being with me tonight. I'm gonna go home now. And yeah, this was probably the second or third year that we had been open, and I've gone back, I'm there every year, but I
Yeah.
have never smelled that. I've never smelled it again. And and this wasn't like potpourri. This wasn't like, because we have props and stuff that
Sure.
that we for the show, dried flowers and what have you. This was not like that. This was a very distinct, old-timey, old-fashioned perfume scent. And the scent was moving, and it was moving around me. So there's no,
Oh.
and I
Like,
never found we had all the boxes, all the bins. I never found any source of the scent. Even I check every year too. Oh, maybe there was something we left over from another year. No, it's nothing. I
it wouldn't
truly
smell that strong if you did.
no, no. And you've been in paranormal situations.
Yeah.
The hair on the back of your neck stands up.
Yeah. I know
Yeah,
that
and you don't,
sensation.
and this is some place that I was completely comfortable at. There was nothing, I'd never been scared, and I really wasn't scared. I felt unease, but I wasn't scared. It didn't feel like a bad thing. So
Gotcha. Yeah, you could pick up
that's
on
where,
those
yeah,
sensations. So, okay, I did not know that space had that. That's interesting. I
yeah,
don't think I ever heard that story before.
it's got some energy. Yeah.
Yeah, right on. Did any of our other haunted locations? Sorry, that's a horrible way to put that. Did there any of our other
Our haunts.
locations are fake haunts? Did they have any real
Uh,
haunts?
well, when we did Goblin's Glen and Haunted Forest, that whole Billy Jones Wildcat Railroad that has a huge
Oh
haunted area.
yeah,
Yeah, there's all kinds of ghost stories about that, especially about the carousel, where we were at.
right.
I mean, there was, the conductors, all the volunteers, they told me all kinds of stories. There was one time that right out they were the office for the conductors was inside the carousel,
Hmm.
and they'd be there late at night. And do you remember when you go to ride the carousel, there's that gate that they would open up, they'd
Right,
let the patrons in, and they'd close the gate, and they'd jump on the carousel and stuff.
right.
Well, every once in a while, they told me you'd hear the gate, there'd be nobody there, and the gate would slam shut by itself. And they go out there, and and the building's locked up. There's no one in there.
Right.
So there's no draft, there's no wind, there's nothing going on.
Yeah, it's a
And
conceal. It's an interior carousel.
yes, yeah, it's a
It's inside a
show.
building.
Yeah.
So
And they believe it was one of the conductors, because also um they told me their name and I forgot, but it was a while ago. But there were also stories of, they would find rocks stacked up outside of the office door that were taken from, remember where the show was?
yeah,
You walk over about 20 feet and then you go down to the Los Gatos Creek, right?
right,
The
right.
right there behind the bathrooms.
Hmm.
So uh his name was Peter. He was the manager of Billy Jones. He was telling me stories about they would find these rocks stacked up on top of each other in front of the door. And he said these were rocks that it took 3 or 4 guys to move them, because these
You're
were,
talking about the big boulders that are down
I'm
there.
talking boulders. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking like little river stones. I said,
Oh
someone.
no, I'm
Oh, okay.
talking rocks that,
Oh, damn.
so
I
they'd
don't
open
think
the
I
door.
heard that story either.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was pretty cool. There's a lot of, there's a lot of
I'll have to go back
interactions.
there
Yeah.
one of these
Yeah,
days and do
I
a
can read.
proper investigation.
Well, Peter quit, but he moved back east, and but I'm still friends with him on Facebook. I could reach out to him.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd love to hear his story. That'd be great. Do any of our other locations have actual hauntings?
Well, of course, Sanborn Park. The Haunted Wood.
Sandborg Park,
Oh my
yeah.
God. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What happened there?
You remember that? You remember that? It's up in the Saratoga foothills, so that's
Yes.
a forest.
Yeah,
We
it's
didn't have a
true
lot of
forest. Yeah.
lights. Yeah.
That's
That's
true
why that
forest.
show was so great, because
Yeah.
we didn't do a lot of props. We just had to let the forest do its thing.
Yeah.
But there, that house there was very haunted.
Oh, was that the youth
YSI,
hostel there, or is that for
not
the?
the youth hostel. It was the YSI building.
Oh, okay. Why is that? I
There
totally
was
know
a
what you're talking
lot
about.
of there's a Lydia would tell stories better than I would, but there was a couple times where it was only myself, John. couple other guys, Randy, and we, be working up there late at night, and I would just hear footsteps, in the forest, and I'd look out in the dark, and it wasn't something on four legs, it was something on two legs. So I don't know.
Something
There,
big on two legs?
yeah, yeah, and there was a lot of
Uh,
stories about, it's right there. Felton's right, right
yeah,
over the mountains there. So,
right.
and of course, there's a huge Bigfoot community there. The
Yeah.
Bigfoot museums up there, and so on. And I never saw anything, but it's when you're out there alone, and there's not supposed to be anybody up there. Park's locked up,
Yeah.
buildings locked up, everything. Anything walking around will usually be on four legs.
You'd
This
expect
was
it to be, yeah.
yeah, this was two legs. I knew where John was. I knew where Randy was. I knew where the other guys were. And I was out walking around by myself and turning things
You were
off.
doing a perimeter sweep, right?
Yeah, yeah, perimeter sweep because we had to make sure the trail was clear.
Yeah. Before we
So
locked people in. I think that
yeah,
actually
right.
happened
And
once.
John had some creepy stories too because John would for one year I remember we put a camper up there, and he stayed up there by himself as security,
Okay.
just with a pellet gun. Yes. Yeah, and so he got
Stop or I'll give you another welt.
I know, right? But there was you remember when you go down the trail? Do you remember where the Dragon Pond was, where Randy and Pat got electrocuted? Where there
Yes.
was a pond, yeah. So you go past that. Oh yeah, that's a great story
Great
in and of
story in and
itself.
of itself, but yeah, let's tell ghost stories this time.
So yeah, we'll do ghost stories, not goofy crew member stories. But if you go down there, and then there's a path that goes down to that abandoned barn.
Yeah.
So if you look down there, there is a concrete border that goes around that part. That was an old pool.
Yeah.
So what happened was supposedly the caretaker's son, I believe, drowned in that pool.
Oh no.
So there's a lot of energy down there, a lot of creepy,
Oh, yeah.
creepy, feelings and sensations.
Gotcha.
But all through that whole forest, um, there's a lot of energy because sadly we were never allowed to do. I'm sure you remember this when we were building scenes, we couldn't do hanging bodies.
Yeah, we couldn't do it because we had to leave
Yeah.
them up. We couldn't put them up every night.
Well, no,
Yeah.
but the thing was, is that the Rangers had found too many people who had gone up there to commit suicide.
Oh, I didn't know that was the
Oh,
case.
yeah, we didn't really tell a lot of people because it
Well,
was kind
that's
of,
smart.
yeah. But we were
Yeah,
told specifically you cannot do hanging bodies because the Rangers were already traumatized. The Rangers
gotcha.
were already,
They didn't need to see
they
that
already
shit.
found enough people. So when you think about all the people that committed suicide up there,
Yeah,
at what the show was, there's a lot of weird energy going on.
I hear you. Now I have my own scary story about that area. Not
Mhm.
related to the haunt. I went up there when Shady Shakespeare was up there,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember they was up. We were up there. Yeah.
and it was their first or second year being open. I knew the person who created it or co-created it,
Hmm.
and I was up there. We were watching a show. I think I had a girlfriend at the time, and we were up there, and this stink. I mean garbage rotting in the sun for 5 days, fish filled with fish, and like, oh god, it was horrible, fishy
Where were you
garbage.
at? You weren't where the audience was sitting, were
Yeah, I
you?
was in the audience because I was
Really?
just watching it, and this stink just hits the players, us, and
Mhm.
everything stops. It's like because we're just overwhelmed by it. And the first thought in my head was, that's a common thing for Bigfoot sightings. They
Yeah,
smell
yeah,
something
yeah, yeah.
too.
Skunk ape.
Skunk ape, yeah, for full on. I get why they say, having smelled it myself, I get that terminology. It's worse than skunk though. It's garbagey fish. It's just disgusting.
All right, so I remember the where you sit and watch the show,
Hmm.
cross a bridge over the stream,
Right.
and then you sit in the audience facing this stage, and you're facing into the forest, and the
Yes.
barn is behind you.
The barn's
So,
behind us. Right.
yeah, were you able to determine any kind of location of
It
ascent?
was. Um, we heard splashes. I remember that we hered splash, splash,
Every to your
stink,
left. Yeah,
stink, stink,
yeah.
stink, and then splash, 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 and that was it.
Wow.
And There was no roar. There was no bear. But it was amazing that everybody froze. There was that at the
Wow.
smell of everything,
Yeah, yeah,
and then the players. There's a little clap backstage. It's like keep going, keep going, and so the players play on, and we get
yeah.
back into it. The stink fades away, but there's distinct splashes upon this whatever this was exiting, and I can't confirm it was a Bigfoot, but all the periphery evidence would
Mhm.
suggest that it was. So, I mean, it could have been a bear, but bears wouldn't come that
They don't,
close to an active
you don't see
situation.
bears. I'd never heard of a bear sighting in all. I mean, I was there from 1986 to 93,
Yeah,
and we never had a bear sighting. And because I thought that too. I'm like, oh, maybe it's a bear, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There
I don't
was,
think so.
yeah. So that was my. I actually went up, I think, a year later with the group, the
Hmm.
scary group, and we did a hunt. It was a daytime hunt because they wouldn't let us go in at night. So you can
Sure,
hunt
yeah.
around all you want during the day. It's like, what the hell am I going to find? Okay, we're supposed to be out nocturnal, but we'll do our best. So we
Yeah.
go off trail up this hill. If you go, so there's where this theater is, and you go
Hmm.
further up the hill, and there's, I
Yeah,
think, a secondary little picnic area up there. And there's
yeah.
that big hill off the main trail. And we went up that hill. It's not well traveled. And then we go off trail from there, just trying to find things. And I come up with a deer scapula, the shoulder blade of a deer.
Hmm.
And it's got the usual predation marks, except for something very, very peculiar. There's these flat grinding, like if you chew on ribs, and you can
Yeah.
see the impression of your teeth in the juicy part of the bone, the little remnants there.
Hmm.
That's what you saw in like in the bone. It actually stripped the bone just a little bit, enough to leave marks behind. Flat teeth, like a human's teeth, but way
Hmm.
bigger.
So obviously it wasn't like a wolf or a coyote or
There was bird predation because you could see beak scarring getting into the little small bits of the scapula,
Mhm.
and you could see wolf scarring on one blade, but there was definitely larger primate style predation on there. And so I take it to the local college, to Foothill, and I go to their animal research division because they have a farm there, and they actually do veterinary research and training. And I say, look at these predation marks and tell me what you think. And they identified everything I did: bird predation, wolf predation.
Now for the audience, Tim, what is predation?
Predation marks, I should say. That's when you see teeth marks or
Okay.
breakages in bone and or meat, and you could just tell by the tearing and the way things are breaking and the scrapings in bone what
Okay.
creature fed on this particular piece of meat. Well, it was just bones by the time I found it, but
Yeah.
and then I say, okay, so I hold the light oblique. I have a flashlight. We're in the dark looking at this under a microscope, right? A
Mhm.
projected microscope. And so I hold the flashlight obliquely and I said, what are those? And they go, oh my God. They look at it more and more. So look at that. There's stuff underneath the bone that I didn't see before. It's, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the upper jaw, it's lower jaw. We can see it. I, what? It looks like a primate. But they could.
Wow.
And it's like, okay, that's what I thought too. I'm just looking for validation that I'm not nuts and creating something out of nothing. So I said, can you identify the species? They said, well, we actually have animal prints from different primate species, and we could do a check, but we can't do it now because we're in the middle of class. I interrupted their class. And they said, give us 2 days. I said, okay, 48 hours. So I come back 48 hours, and they said the closest thing we can come with was a giant chimpanzee. Now, there's no such thing as a giant chimpanzee. So it had, chimpanzee kind of marks, but the chimpanzee would have to be somewhere between 7 to 8 feet tall, according to their estimations.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So they
And
said,
and you
so
found
officially
this
we can't say anything because there's no such animal like this on record. I was like, all right.
and you found this how far from where the
Okay.
theater was?
So the theater, so if you go up the hill,
Mhm.
there's that top parking lot area up there.
Yeah.
and then you go on the main path, and it snakes around this hill, and it skirts the river. There's that hill up on the one
Yeah.
side. It was up there in the off trail up there in a bunch of thicket. I just happened to see a nest of bones.
Yeah.
It was it was pretty impressive.
Interesting. Yeah, because I don't, as far as I know, there's no homeless people living up there either.
That
I
would
mean,
predate on a deer like
I know. Yeah. Hey,
that.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, if you
Primate.
got it, you got it. But I mean,
Right.
no one's.
Well, they clear the park. I mean, they clear everybody out. So
They're pretty
yeah,
good about it too, from what I remember.
they are. They are.
Okay, so that's Sandboard
Yeah.
Park down. You said our local haunted house, I guess you could say, the haunted house, if you will, the Winchester
Mhm.
Mystery House is what it's called. Sarah Winchester lived there. For those who don't know, that's the wife to the gentleman who was the Winchester magnet, the manufacturer of the Winchester rifle. The
Repeating
rifle.
ourselves. Yeah.
Ha! I turned to Elmer Fudd there for a second.
Wow.
Rifle. Ha! Um, So, and you were there for, they started doing a haunted attraction on their
Yeah.
premises, which is brilliant, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I thought should have been doing that from the jump, but I digress. So you went there and you had some experiences. Why don't you tell us about those?
Well, so they started doing the Halloween Horror Nights a few years ago,
Mm,
and our friends, Peter Overstreet, Michael Anderson, all those guys,
right.
they participated, but they weren't in charge. And I remember that iteration of the Winchester Haunt was closed down due to numerous issues that
Oh, okay.
I won't go into here, but it just didn't work out. And then a few years later, our friends Mike Knust, Peter Overstreet, they got the gig of a lifetime. I mean,
Yeah.
they were asked, "Would you like to do a haunted attraction here at the Winchester?" So of course, Peter and Mike jumped at it.
Of course.
Oh yeah. So they started doing the candlelight tours, and I always liked what they did because Peter and Mike did instead of the jump in your face, blood gore, da 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 da. Peter and Mike made a story. So,
Oh,
so they
okay.
crafted this whole story around the Winchester, around Sarah, but they also added new characters. And I was working on Grimm's Hollow at the time, and Peter and Mike, they're working on Winchester, and then we're coming up to a week before opening, and Peter's at, they're asking me, hey, we're getting ready to open here. We need some more help. Would you mind coming down? So I'm like, yeah, sure.
All right.
So I got the neat experience of being able to go down and work on, and of course, it's a national treasure. It's a monument. So
Yeah, it's
we
protected. Yeah.
I'm not stapling in walls. I'm not drilling things. Not like the usual haunt where I'm
Or
just like screwing wood together and making things up. It's we got to be very careful
making
and
rooms out of panels, right?
exactly. So yeah, I mean we're very respectful of the house.
Of
So
course.
um we got in there. I'm walking around the Winchester Mystery House at night alone by myself. And yeah, that's there's so many stories about that
Oh,
place,
I know. Yeah.
and you can feel something walking behind you when you're there. But most of the time it wasn't malevolent. It was very, very nice, very cordial. And then so we got the house open, and I'm walking with and I signed on as an actor. So I was walking with Natasha Bartholomew,
Oh, okay.
Tosh, walking to our scene. And if you know the Winchester, there's the courtyard where you get ready to go on your tours.
Yeah.
And then you exit the courtyard to walk towards the gardens. And on your left-hand side are the stables,
Right.
which from what I heard was one of the most paranormal areas of the house.
Interesting.
And I walk in, and Tosh is on my right. And she's talking to me, and then she's on my right. In my left ear, someone whispers hello. It was a woman's voice, whispers hello. And I stop and I go, Tosh, did you hear that? She's all, hear what? I'm like, Never mind. Because you know what? It didn't say get out. It said
it,
hello.
it said
And
hello.
it,
That's
it was a
welcoming.
nice voice. So I'm like, okay. And it was the weirdest thing. I didn't freak out. It didn't scare me. I just went,
We've been doing this haunted business too long.
yeah, someone's happy that I'm here. That's
That's
amazing.
great.
So, yeah, so we went walking back to our scene, and we went in. We were in what is in a room that's called the unfinished ballroom.
Oh, okay.
And the unfinished ballroom, they don't take people in there, but Peter and Mike had built a maze. We call that one of the grinder rooms, where it's where you had to go in, you take a right, and then you go around a corner, take a left, and you're gonna go in front of these two windows that look like we had boards behind them, so it looked like the stucco had broken off.
Oh,
But
gotcha.
there were actually belts that could you could push out. So all of a sudden the wall looks like it's pushing out. So we were
Oh,
doing that room, and then there's a doorway in between them, and it's of course it's all in the dark. It's all lit like a haunt.
right.
And so I get in there, and I'm partnered with someone, and I don't remember his name, but we were talking for a little while, and I said, "Hey, anything cool happened? Well, because I wasn't there opening weekend, I was there the second weekend."
Gotcha.
And he goes, yeah, it was, I'm standing here, and the tours that went through were every 20 minutes. It
Oh,
wasn't like a grinder where it's like constant flow of people. We had downtime. So a group would come through, and then you'd have like another 20 minutes to wait, and a group would come through. In between these groups, he said he was sitting there waiting, just waiting for the group to come by.
yeah.
And he heard these footsteps go running right outside the doorway where we were doing the scares.
Okay.
And they sounded like kids' feet. It was like
Yeah, a little shuffle. Yeah.
yeah, a little, yeah. It wasn't a dun 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 dun. It was like,
Right.
it was so.
Yeah.
He looked out and he's like, "What the hell?" Because there's nobody supposed to be in there, and especially a kid by himself.
Right.
And then, so if you run past our doorway, it goes into a small maze and then out into another area. So he chased these footsteps into the next room, where he said they faded off.
Oh,
And you heard a little laugh, and then that was it.
oh, creepy.
I'm all, really? So yeah. And right when he was telling me that story, we hear from the other side of the room, we hear just like that. I'm like, shaving a haircut. And I
Oh,
look at him
oh,
like,
you heard
what?
that knock? Doc, 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 doc.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So I'm like, dude, and there's no, we're waiting for the next group. There's nobody supposed to be in there. So we go running out, and we're like, what? So I run to where we heard the sound from. There's no one there. There's no security. And then Peter comes walking up, and I go, did you just do the
Shaving hair. Yeah.
yeah? And he goes, no. And because he had come from the other side. And so I'm looking, and I start tapping on the walls. I start doing dun 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 dun. I'm trying to replicate that sound,
Right.
and I finally found it. And we're sitting there driving, and everybody yelled over on the other side nuts, because they're going, "What are you guys doing?" Well, did you not hear that? And they had been on the other side of the room
Okay.
where the sound came from. Nobody was there.
Okay.
Nobody, and then we finally found it. I knock on the wall. That's it. I look on the other side of the wall, and it's an area that is enclosed. So nobody could have been in that room with us. Nobody could have come and knocked, because
Oh.
the other side, it's like a plexiglass, where they display like
Oh.
art stuff. A lot of the carved things they don't want the audience to touch.
Right. I know
So
exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, I looked at him. I'm like, dude. I'm like, that either that person was here in the room with us, which is impossible because we would have seen them,
Yeah.
heard them leave, or I don't know. We just chalked it up to okay.
Yet another
Something
fun
else.
thing
And
to
we
add to
just
the
call
tour.
exactly. We just called it cool stuff. Oh, more cool stuff.
More cool
So
stuff.
yeah,
I dig it. That's awesome. Oh, that's creepy though. That's
yeah, it was
that's pretty
awesome.
creepy. Anything else happened at that place?
Um, there was a court, and it didn't happen to me. There's a corridor that where it comes out to the uncharted ballroom. I mean, the unfinished ballroom.
Mhm.
It's the gardener's shed where you come through, and you come out, and there's a fountain with a bird there,
Okay.
and someone stationed in that corridor, who would scare them before they would get to our room.
Okay.
And came into our room white as a sheet. She said something just pushed me out of the corridor. I'm like, what? She
Wow.
goes, yeah. She goes, I'm standing in the doorway waiting for the audience to come around the corner, and something physically pushed me out. And she was not, there's all types of haunt people. There's the over dramatic ones, and then there's I'm just here to do a good job.
Right.
And she was one of those serious, you know, she's not someone I would have gone, you really come on.
Okay.
So
Okay.
of course, I went running over there.
All right. Now,
So, and I stood there.
was it possible for someone to be behind her to push her out?
No, no,
Okay.
because she was pushed from the front. Her front, she was pushed backwards out of the doorway.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like from behind. It was
Oh,
someone, a horse in
wow.
front of her. Yeah,
What?
yeah, it was pretty cool.
That is the
So,
cool thing, isn't it?
so of course, I went running over and I'm standing them all. Come on, come on.
Do it again. Do it
And,
again.
like, and of course, when they're ghosts are not, they're not pets.
Yeah. Right.
Gonna do it on command.
Right.
So I stood
Exactly.
there and I just got to scare the audience. As I came around the corner. I'm like, okay, all right. But yeah, it was that was pretty interesting. You should really talk to like Mike, if you can talk to Mike or Peter. They had some really good stories too.
I'll get them on one way or
Yeah.
another. Why don't you tell me the story about the world's happiest place, Disneyland, after we
Uh-huh.
take this break?
You got it.
Okay, we'll be
All right.
back in a little bit. Here's a quick word from our sponsors. The Seekers of California for Ethereal Research and Investigation. We investigate hauntings, cryptids, UFOs, and offer cleansing and clearing. Don't get scared, call Scary. Serving the greater San Jose area and beyond. Call us at 408 320 8467. That's 408 320 8467. Scary Paranormal Investigations. And now, back to the show. Why don't you tell us the story about what you experienced at Disneyland?
Well, okay. So back in 2001, oh God, how old I am. So back in 2001, I was a cast member with Disney Store. And so what happened was I happened to be down at the park. 2001 was the first year where they did the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay for Nightmare Before Christmas.
Gotcha.
So while I was there, a friend of mine, she was manager of what is called the West Side, which is Splash Mountain, Indiana Jones, Pirates, and Haunted Mansion. And she said, she called me up and said, "Hey, Steve Davison is going to be walking cast members through the new Nightmare Before Christmas holiday overlay at the mansion. Mansion's closed right now." She goes, "Would you want to join that tour?" I'm like, "Oh my God, yeah."
Who wouldn't
Uh,
be? I mean, to walk around the
Oh
actual
man,
haunted
to
house
walk
from.
through the mansion, yeah.
Yeah. And who
So
was this fellow that was leading you?
his name is Steve Davison. He created the overlay. He's created a lot of the park, a lot of the special events for the park, a lot
Okay.
of the different things. Um,
Okay.
and Haunted Mansion Holiday was his baby.
Gotcha.
So we go meet at the haunt a mansion. Of course, there's chain link. No, there's a fencing around the mansion because it's closed
Yeah.
to the regular guests. So I go in and I joined the tour group, and so he's talking to us. It was so neat. We go in the elevator, the stretching room,
Right.
and it's the first time I saw the giant head of Jack Skellington
Oh.
at the top, going "Merry Christmas, everyone."
Yeah.
So he showed us some of those effects, and I was geeking out, but especially when we got to the Doom buggies, because when you get to the loading area for the Doom buggies, that's where you get on the ride and then you're riding through. Well, we got to the Doom buggies and we started walking, which was
Oh.
really
All
cool.
right.
So I was like,
So you're
I'm such
walking the Doom buggy track.
I'm walking the Doom buggy track, and I'm
Okay.
such a Haunted Mansion nerd. I'm running up and I'm touching things, and I'm going, I just want to be able to say, Isaac, touch this. So we walked past the hallway with the floating candelabra.
Sure.
There's a chair there to the left. There's on the right is the suit of armor. To the left, that chair is supposed to have a lot of paranormal activity around that chair.
In the
And that
show or in reality?
in reality, there's
Okay.
a lot of areas that are, yeah. So
Okay.
I'm like, oh, okay, and of course, I'm starting to get hot because I'm like, man, because they're working on the mansion, so all these doors and windows are open that you never even knew were there.
Oh,
Sunlight's coming in and it's warm. Of course, the AC's off
yeah.
because they're not going to be able to cool the whole place. So
Right.
we walk past the doors where they push out. The latches are going. We walk past the guy in the coffin,
Okay.
and I'm going, oh my God, it's hot in here. And then we get to Madame Leota's, the seance room, and
Sure.
all the things are floating,
Right.
and tail of a rat, bring me the spirits wherever they're at, all that stuff.
Yeah.
We walk in there, and all of a sudden, it's bone chilling cold.
Oh.
And I stop and I look at my friend. I'm like, what? She goes, I know, we can't figure it out either. And I'm like, what? So I step out of the room and it's warm. And
Oh,
there's not even a
crazy.
doorway. You go past the clock with the 13 o'clock, with the arms and the shadow,
Right.
and it is right about there. So I step in, I step out, I step in,
And it
I
was just
step
icing the seance
hot,
room.
cold, hot, cold. Yeah. So I'm like,
That's
oh my
incredible.
God.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, and
crazy.
so we walked through Madame Leota's, walked through, and then after Madame Leota, you get to the ballroom, so where all the ghosts are
Or
dancing and everything.
dancing, right?
Yeah, so I get step out of there again, and again it's hot. So I went, oh man, this is awesome. Um, and so we continued that tour without of much further ghostly things going on. But she did tell me that she would not walk the house alone at night.
Oh,
She told me the story. There's a whole urban legend about a mom sprinkling ashes of a child in there, and then
get out. Really? I
she.
don't know that story. Tell me that
Oh,
story.
okay.
Well, you kind of
So,
did, but tell me it anyway.
well, the thing was, there was a mom who, yeah, that she heard her child had passed away, and she wanted to sprinkle his ashes in the house. And it's a really good book by David Koenig, called I think it's Mouse Tales, where he went into it as well.
Okay.
But my friend told me what she had experienced and what she knew, and she worked, she was, worked at the park, so. The mom wanted to sprinkle the ashes. Of course, that breaks all kinds of, people are trying to sprinkle ashes there all the time.
Really?
Kind of frowned upon. Yeah. So,
That is
I don't know if
shocking to
know.
me. I
Yeah,
don't know
right.
why.
So they told her no. So she said okay, but then she went on the ride, and so she got right. Yeah, as she
Yeah.
got on the dune buggy, the dune buggy starts going up the lift hill towards the Hall of Doors.
Okay.
That's when she starts sprinkling his ashes, and they stop the ride,
Oh,
and they're
they
like,
caught her doing it?
yeah, well,
Mm.
there's can't you can't get away with anything in the
Oh, I
house.
know. That's
There's
true.
cameras everywhere, and which yeah, I have another story for that right after this.
Okay, great.
So we there you can't. So she starts sprinkling the ashes, and they stop the ride, and then after clearing the ride, they're like, well, what do we do? Vacuum this kid up? And so they decided to leave it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, all right.
it's it mixed. It wasn't a lot. It was just and there's
Yeah.
and they really try to keep the dust and everything. For the atmosphere and
Well,
everything.
they
So.
also have a lot of sensitive electronics in there. So,
Yeah, exactly. So,
so
so after that, you would alternately hear a child either crying or laughing at the dune buggy loading area.
that's crazy you mentioned that. I did hear a child laughing when I went on that ride.
By yourself?
I wasn't by myself. It
Uh,
was with my family. I had my mother and my
yeah.
cousin with me. This is
Oh, you heard
19.
something? Really?
Yeah, exactly where you said. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I had no idea I had a paranormal experience. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Oh
house
my
is.
god. That is blowing my mind right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
It's
yeah,
not
and that's
supposed
why
to happen.
she said she won't. Yeah, she wouldn't walk the house alone at night. She said there's too many things that go on.
Oh my god.
So yeah. So
There's a
so
child laughing. Oh my
yeah,
god.
or
I'm still
crying.
dining on that, man. That's just crazy. Oh, that's nuts.
The stories started even before I got we started running around in the house because they had us wait backstage. So if you're looking at the house
Yeah.
to the right, there is the old pet cemetery used to be there.
Right.
If go through that gate and go down, you go into right back there is the security room where all the monitors are for the cameras in the house.
Gotcha.
They're having us wait there. And so while we're waiting there, there was a girl there, watching the cameras and stuff. And I asked her, I was telling her about what I experienced. And this was maybe a year or two later
Okay.
after 2001, after I experienced the freezing cold room.
Yeah.
This is, this is about a year or two later. And I started talking to her. I told her about what I experienced. I said, "Hey, have you had anything weird happen to you?" And she goes, "I had something happen to me last year. I almost quit."
Wow.
Whoa. I'm like, what was that? And so, so at the end of the ride, there is, when you're getting off the dune buggies, there's a conveyor belt that the cast members walking on. They're saying step to your left, watch your step to
Sure.
your left. They're just walking and they're making sure that you're getting off the dune buggies, you're not riding back through around.
Right.
So next time you're on the ride,
Just for clarification, so the
huh?
dune buggy just for clarification, at the end you have your pet ghost with you in the hologram reflecting,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Is that
and you
that
get off.
area? And then you get
Yes,
off,
that
right?
area.
Okay.
Yeah, the exit. So right as soon as you pass the pet ghosts, you come to the exit where you get off the dune buggy, and there's that conveyor belt that moves along with the dune buggy,
Okay.
and the cast members walking on that conveyor belt facing you,
Right.
and, and since they're walking towards you, they're kind of walking in place because they're on that conveyor belt.
Right. Right.
So they're carrying is called the dead man switch. So if someone falls off the dune buggy or if someone's having problems getting off, they can hit that switch and stop the ride.
Okay.
And in directly in front of them, as the dune buggy exits where the ghosts are,
Mm.
there's mirrors on the wall there, so they can see behind them.
Okay.
So they're looking straight ahead. So as they're looking straight ahead to their cast members left, you are exiting. The Doom Buggy is exiting that corridor of where the ghosts are that appear in the mirrors.
Right. And it goes off one corner and the people go
Yeah.
straight, right?
Yes. People
Okay.
get off and they go straight up that ramp,
Right.
hurry back, hurry back.
Right.
So so she told me that she was there when I was during Phantasmic, because everybody's watching Phantasmic, so there's hardly anybody there.
Okay.
And so she's walking on the conveyor belt, checking the mirrors. No one's coming through in the dune buggies. And in Disneyland, what they did or they used to do is something called bumping, where you only work a certain position for 30 minutes or so.
Oh,
30
they
minutes.
rotate them. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good. You don't get bored. You're not doing the
That's
same thing
smart.
the entire time. So, and she was waiting to get bumped. So she's looking in the mirrors, and but from behind her, she sees someone approaching, and they're in the full Haunted Mansion, costume.
Are there any players in the mansion?
No, no. I mean, there's a cast member.
Oh, oh wait.
Cast
Are the
member
cast
approaching.
members dressed up? I can't recall.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Everybody's in costume. Oh
I
yeah,
don't recall that part, but go ahead.
yeah, yeah. They're all, because they're wearing like she was wearing, she wears the maid outfit. They wear the butler outfits. It's the green, purple, kind of,
Right. Right.
almost tuxedo looking thing. So
Okay.
he, someone's come walking up behind her. She's carrying the switch. She sees in the mirror and she goes, "Oh, good, you're here to bump me." And then she said she turned around and there was no one there. So she
So she
sees in
saw it in
the
the
mirror.
mirror.
She saw it in the mirror, walking up, full Haunted Mansion costume. Da, 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 da. And so, she told me that story, and then the guy who was taking us on the tour, uh, I started telling him that story. He goes, "Yeah," he's all, "That freaked me out too." Yeah, that's a cast member. He was actually killed in a drunk driving accident last year.
Oh no
So
way!
I
They
knew
know who it is. They can identify him.
yeah. She said she described him to me, and I knew that was, I knew who that was.
Wow!
So I
And
went,
the dude
wow.
shows up for work every day.
Yeah, and when you think people they see Walt all the time. When
Oh,
you think about it, they say spirits end up where they're happiest. So Disneyland's got to be the most haunted place ever, right? So yeah. So yeah, we continue with the tour, and he told us more stories. Like
oh my god!
so they're the most paranormal parts of the house. He said they were calling Core One and Core Two. Core One, I believe, was by Madame Leota. Core Two was behind the ballroom.
Thank you for
So if you
watching
go
and
down,
listening.
the ballroom where
Please
all the
click the
ghosts are
Sure,
dancing
subscribe
sure.
there,
button and
huge
activate
room. So
notifications for future
behind there
episodes
is
and other
like
content.
on
storage
Spotify.
and tech
Please don't
stuff and
forget to leave
tools.
us a
And,
5-star
I
review.
saw, he took us back there.
Oh, fun.
And
If you have real a quickly, I thought the ballroom was that you would like to discuss more
on
of a forced perspective piece of architecture, and they just had the holograms dancing around there.
Oh no, that's a full size room.
Oh, no way!
It's a sheet of glass. It's a giant Pepper's ghost.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
When you write through it, fun story. If you look for it,
Find us on
someone
Facebook
snuck a
and
BB gun.
Instagram
How the hell they did that? I have no idea. They shot a little hole in the glass. So if you look at the glass, you'll see they painted a spider in a web over it to hide the hole. So yeah, you can look for that next time you're at Disney.
That's funny you mentioned that because I also saw that.
Yeah, right. There's a hole there.
Yeah, there's a hole there.
So,
okay.
What it is a full set, but the ghosts are dancing below you.
Oh, okay. And to do the Pepper's ghost effect, yeah. Okay, gotcha.
And that sheet of glass had to be lowered in with a helicopter, and that's why they painted it over. They're like, we can't take the roof off this place and pull this glass out.
Oh,
so yeah, that's what. Yeah, the practical thing, just paint a spider over the hole. It's a little tiny hole. And then he's gonna know.
I gotcha.
So
that's clever. That's good thinking right there.
So we went walking. First, he took us down where the ghosts are, which is really cool. So we were able to walk amongst the ghosts where they dance. And then he took us back behind the ballroom, and it's a long corridor that, because the ballroom's pretty long.
Okay.
So you go back there. One of the stories he told us was that, you'll go be walking behind that ballroom, and every once in a while you'll see the ghost of one of the former custodial Imagineer guys.
No kidding.
Maintenance worker. And he said you'll turn a corner and you'll see him, wearing his old time Disneyland, maintenance uniform, the overalls and stuff.
Overalls, yeah. They had the overalls and they had like the railroad cap or something.
Yeah. Back, belt of tools. You see him shuffling off into the darkness. And then you go chasing. He said you go chasing after him and there's nothing. It's just cold.
So crazy.
Yeah, and that's behind the ballroom going from left to right. And he took us down that path because we're going left to right because the entrance to the ballroom behind it, we would start where the shooting gallery pictures are.
Sure.
Where they're shooting.
Yeah,
you go there and then you start walking to the right towards the fireplace where the woman's sitting in the carriage where all the ghosts are coming in. You go there and you start to go up these steps. Those steps go up to the Madame Leota seance room, where because they would have a cast member there, in the seance room, making sure people aren't no hanky panky, no one's
gotcha.
No one's doing something stupid. So if you look when you go and let Madame Leota's room and you're circling around her table watching her head float, right behind the chair there's a slit in the wall where a cast member can stand. And it's a small area. It's maybe 3 by 4.
Oh,
and they just stand there and watch people.
Gotcha.
And so he took us there, and there was myself, 2 other cast members, and him, and we had to squeeze in there. And we're sitting there looking. He's all, yeah. A lot of people don't like to work this spot. I'm like, oh my God, why? He goes, well, so you'll be standing here, and then you'll hear someone will breathe in your ear. Or you'll feel someone lightly touch your arm, like grab your arm.
Wow.
And there's no one there, yeah. And you've got to run. If that happens, you're running a good 20 feet down a corridor, and then you go down steps, and then you got to run behind the ballroom to get to anybody. So, yeah.
There were no walkie-talkies?
Yeah, no. It didn't have walkie. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he was carrying a walkie-talkie. I don't remember.
Anyway,
but yeah, he said that was not a fun.
That's interesting. So people are on watch duty there, and they'll get touched.
Yeah,
crazy.
They'll get touched or a little breath in the air, kind of like my hello. What happened to me at
your hello moment. Wow, but no words, just.
That's what he said. It's to be like breathing in your ear. I mean, to me, that's the creepiest thing ever.
Yeah. Hi there.
Yeah, some pervy ghost. I don't know.
Oh, crazy. Oh, man, that's amazing. So if you go to the haunted house to Disneyland, look for those fun things.
Haunted Mansion, yeah.
Haunted Mansion.
And there's There is a book and a figure if you're in Madame Leota's. It's like Madame Leota's is like this, like Spook Central. So there's a
Right
book
out
and
of Ghostbusters. Nice pull.
yeah, right. You're not supposed to separate this book and this dollar. There's a book there, and there's another artifact next to it. Because whenever they separate the two, bad things happen, is what I was told.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
a
how
weird.
old are these props in this thing?
Oh, because Disneyland,
They
these
hung on
people
to everything, right?
scoured. Oh, they scoured. Big Thunder Mountain has authentic from the 1800s mining equipment.
Have they
It's
had
a lot
ghost
of,
problems out there?
um, ever since that guy was killed on the
Oh,
ride.
that's right.
Yeah, so yeah, I haven't heard anything, but I wouldn't be surprised. I would
Well,
not
if
be
they're
surprised.
grabbing authentic things, there's
Hmm.
something called attachment, and
Yeah.
spirits can actually attach to certain objects.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then
And if they grabbed authentic stuff from the day, I mean, when was the Haunted Mansion built?
19 well, they started building it in 59, but it didn't open until 67, I
So they
think is
probably did all the
after
zhuzhing
Walt.
and props toward closer to
Yeah.
67.
Because what happened was they were working on it. Walt wanted it a certain way, but then he passed in 66.
Mm,
No, it opened in 69 because he
mm.
passed, and then they were at a standstill. They're like, well, half of the Imagineers want to make it all spooky and creepy on the outside and do this and make it really scary, hardcore. And then there was the other half that said, well, no, we should make it like Pirates of the Caribbean and kind of make it fun, and we don't want to scare anybody.
Spooky fun, all right.
So yeah, so that was one of the first rides they completed after Walt passed away.
Okay.
And what happened was they kind of did both. So there's a scary part,
Yeah.
like the hanging guy in the stretching room.
Yeah.
There's the goofy fun parts like the graveyard with all the singing ghosts. So, but it has a really dark story behind it too, what they were going to go with.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, a story about a ancient a sea mariner who killed his bride on their wedding night. Just all kinds of stuff, which
That
is
is
why
dark.
oh yeah, and there's a weather vane of a ship on top of the house, one of the cupolas, and then when you go through the gallery of portraits, there is a ship there,
At sea. Yeah.
yeah,
It's in motion, right?
all kinds of little clues and all kinds of little nods to that story.
Oh, dude, if I can get down there and investigate that, that would be golden.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That would be a dream.
Yeah.
Uh, Work your magic, Stuart.
All right.
Cool stuff.
It's
It's
my
still bugging me out that the kids laugh when you go, that
yeah.
I heard it.
She
And
wouldn't
it's not
walk out
supposed to be
before
there.
night. Nope.
Man. Would you call yourself a believer, or were you ever a skeptic of all this, or were you always kind of open to it, or?
I am a believer.
Okay.
Always have been. Because I remember my cousin. When I'd go up in Daly City, I'd stay with my relatives, and their house was always, reportedly haunted.
Mm.
And I kind of took it with a grain of salt until one time, in Daly City, the garages are built under the houses.
Oh, right.
So we were downstairs. He was working on my car in the garage, and I remember the garage door opening by itself. And
Was
they
it?
didn't,
It
it
wasn't
wasn't
an elect.
electric. It wasn't electrical. Just kind of
It was
opened
on
up.
springs. Just
Yeah. I'm
bing.
like, what the hell? So I start.
Wow.
So he's my cousin's under the hood of my car, and I was in the driver's seat because I was supposed to turn it off and on periodically while I was checking timing and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, dude. He's like, what? I'm all, the door. The door just opened by itself. He's all, yeah, that happens. I'm like,
Just blasé about
yeah,
it.
yeah. I mean, my aunt she would tell me stories about, she was staying, my aunt, my other aunt would, she was staying where her sister would be staying at the house,
Mm.
and she'd be all alone, and she would hear footsteps coming down the hallway,
Oh, crazy.
and then she would feel the impression of someone sitting at the edge of the bed.
Oh
Look up,
no.
and there's the imprint,
The butt
the
imprint.
the imprint was there, yeah, but there's nobody there.
Oh, crazy.
So yeah,
That's nuts. I love cases
so I've
like
always
that.
been I've always been pretty much a believer.
Right
It's
on.
but I've never had any malevolent. I've never had any. I've had fear only because it's unknown, but
Right.
nothing. I never felt like anything was trying to hurt me.
That's good. I'm glad you
So
had relatively positive
yeah, really, yeah,
experiences.
no
Relatively.
poltergeists.
Right. Now you have you're Japanese,
Yes.
and I was curious to know if you have any stories from your family's past in Japan.
No, my mom has seen her grandmother.
Oh,
No, yeah, I know that. That's a great story. You know what? Let me get all the details
sure.
from her. I remember her talking about it, and yeah, I don't want to give the story without. I don't think I could do it justice without talking to her
Okay,
and
sounds
getting all the
good.
details.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's all the time we have for today then.
All right, man.
I appreciate you enlightening myself and the audience on all the fun haunted stuff that I was not privy to, especially the stuff at Disneyland.
Oh, sure, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Always love to share.
Oh, those are. I love those stories. I love those stories.
So
Those are
that's why we
fantastic.
do haunts, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, we have to build our own ghost stories. It's kind of. It's just always fun to do that, and getting the occasional code yellow is always a thrill.
Absolutely.
All right, Stuart. Thank you so much
All
for
right,
being
bud.
on the air with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Paranormal Insight, the Ghost Stories edition. Thank you for watching and listening. Please click the subscribe button and activate notifications for future episodes and other content. On Spotify, please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. If you have a paranormal experience that you would like to discuss on the show, please email us at paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com. That's paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook and Instagram under paranormal.insight.podcast